Let's go ahead and talk about the November 3rd, 2025 episode of Monday Night Raw, where we kick off the show with the new World Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. He makes his way out there to the ring, and he starts talking inside the ring, talking about how he finally got to the World Championship and everything, and then he was talking about Jey Uso, where they could be friends or not, that's up to Jey, but he said that he already had that statement made about 2 years ago, where he says that he wasn't there in the WWE to make friends, he's there to make money. So yeah, that's what CM Punk was saying there. And then CM Punk was talking about how he can't get screwed out winning the world title this time, unlike last time when he only held it for like 3 minutes because of Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank briefcase. And then he says that Seth Rollins better stay on that couch because if he comes after CM Punk again, he says that he's going to get put back on the couch. So yeah, that's what Punk says there. And then Punk was talking about the people that he could possibly be facing for the world title. Names like Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, even John Cena, and so many others. So yeah, that's what we see CM Punk saying. But then he gets interrupted by Logan Paul. Logan Paul comes out there. CM Punk was like, no, go to SmackDown, go to the US Open Challenge. So yeah, that's what CM Punk was saying there. And then Logan Paul was talking about opportunities and all that stuff. And he was talking about how he wants to go after the world title too. So yeah, that's what Logan Paul was saying there. Then, after that, they get interrupted by Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and Paul Heyman. The Vision, Paul Heyman comes out there and he was talking about the title reign that, that ended years ago with him and CM Punk, talking about how, how he needs 432 more days left, but he says that, he's not going to be champion for that long either. So yeah, that's what Paul Heyman was saying there. And then Paul Heyman was telling Logan Paul that he better get out of the ring. So yeah, that's what he was telling him. And Logan Paul was kind of like not listening a little bit. And Braun Breaker grabs the mic and he was talking about how he's going to win the world title and everything because he says that he's been waiting patiently for the last few weeks and everything. So yeah, that's what he said. And he says he's tired of waiting. So yeah, that's what he was saying there. And then Logan Paul gets out of the ring and Logan Paul was trying to walk past him, but then Bronson Reed was blocking him up, and then Braun Breaker was too. And then Braun Breaker pushes Logan Paul down, and yeah, then we see Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed getting into the ring, attacking CM Punk. It's 2-on-1. They was beating him down and everything. And then Logan Paul was thinking of going into the ring, but then decided to walk away. But then Logan Paul quickly got back into the ring, and he starts going at it with the bronze. And then they beat him down. They lay out Logan Paul, and we see Bronson Reed climb up the top turnbuckle, jumping off with a tsunami onto Logan Paul, laying him out. And then we see CM Punk coming in there with a steel chair, trying to hit Braun Breaker. Breaker ducks it, gets out of the ring, and then he hits Bronson Reed in the stomach, and then hits him in the back with the steel chair, knocking Bronson Reed out the ring as well. And then CM Punk grabs the World Championship, holding it up high. So yeah, that was the start of Monday Night Raw right there. It was a pretty decent start right there. But yeah, that's what happened there. But up next, we're going to be seeing Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella versus Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez of the Judgment Day up next in a tag team match on Raw. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, we get to the next match of the night. It was the first match of the night, actually, was the WWE Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella versus Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, the Judgment Day, in a tag team match. We get to this tag team match, and this match, it was a pretty good one. It was back and forth and everything between these two teams. At one point, we actually see Stephanie hitting the Devil's Kiss onto Roxanne Perez, and then she tags in Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella comes in there, picking up Roxanne up on her shoulders, hitting the Rack Attack 2.0 onto Roxanne. She pins her 1, 2. Raquel breaks at the pin at the count of 2. Stephanie then springboard off the top rope, trying to hit a crossbody onto Raquel, but Raquel catches her, picks her up, setting her up like a powerbomb position. But then Stephanie hurricanrana's Raquel over the top rope and stuff, but still gets her legs wrapped around her. She was trying to hit the Devil's Kiss onto Raquel on the ring apron, but then Raquel fought out of that, still having Stephanie up on her shoulders, and then she face plants her onto the ring apron, taking out Stephanie. And then we see Nikki Bella staring at her, and then Roxanne tries to go for the pin onto Nikki Bella, but then Nikki Bella sits on her, pinning her, but then Roxanne kicks out at 2, enforcing Nikki onto the ropes and stuff, and the referee didn't see it, but then Raquel punches Nikki Bella in the face, and then that's when Roxanne takes advantage, hitting Pop Rocks onto Nikki Bella, pinning her for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, the Judgment Day defeated Nikki Bella and Stephanie Vaquer tonight in a tag team match. Pretty good tag team match right there. for that match, I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it a pretty good one. But then, after that, we see the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk walking around backstage. Jey Uso comes up, and Jey Uso was telling Punk that, he was thinking about helping him, but, he just decided not to and stuff. So, yeah, that's what he was talking about there. But he says that he wants to help CM Punk tonight against the Vision. And then CM Punk actually asked him, who's he talking to? Is he talking to main event Jey Uso, or is he talking to little Roman? And then Jey Uso's like, you're talking to main event Jey Uso. And he tells him he appreciates the fight and everything. And he says that he wants to help CM Punk against the Vision tonight. And then CM Punk was like, okay, I'm going to get my gear on. So, yeah, it looks like it'll be a tag team match later on tonight. CM Punk and Jey Uso versus the Vision in a tag team match. And then after that, we see Adam Pearce pretty much doing the thing that they used to do for the Royal Rumble numbers, spinning the wheel and stuff, the roulette pretty much, and yeah, revealing names, who's going to be in the tournament for John Cena's final match. So yeah, that's what they're going on there. But yeah, up next we're going to be seeing El Grande Americano versus Penta 1-on-1 up next on Monday Night Raw. So yeah, see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, we get to the next match of the night. It was Penta versus El Grande Americano with Bravo and Rayo, the Los Americanos at ringside. So yeah, we get to a 1-on-1 match. In this match, it was pretty decent for the most part. It was back and forth between El Grande and Penta. And then we see Bravo actually interfering by knocking Penta down on the ring apron, pushing him back into the ring. The referee seen Bravo pretty much pushing Penta in the ring, so the referee kicked Bravo out of ringside. And then during this match, we actually see Penta climbing up the top turnbuckle, and then Rayo's grabbing Penta's leg. Referee seen it, kick him out of ringside as well, but then Penta was up there on the top turnbuckle. He jumps off with a crossbody on Rayo, taking him out, and then he gets back into the ring. And then during this time, we actually see El Grande putting that metal plate into his mask and everything, and at one point he was trying to use it during this match, but as soon as Penta got back into the ring, he was trying to hit the running diving headbutt onto Penta with the metal plate in his mask. Penta super kicks him, and then he gets up there on the second turnbuckle, jumps off with a Mexican destroyer onto El Grande Americano, pinning him for the 3 count. So yeah, Penta defeated El Grande Americano tonight in a 1-on-1 match, and then after the match ended, we see Los Americanos try and got into the ring, attacking Penta, and then Penta knocks both of them out of the ring as well, and yeah, he saved himself. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, pretty decent match between Penta and El Grande Americano. I'll give that match 3 stars. That's why I'll give it. And Penta gets more pyro now. As soon as he gets into the ring, the pyro goes off in the corners, like at the turnbuckles and stuff. So yeah, Penta gets more pyro for his entrance now. But yeah, later on tonight, we're going to be seeing CM Punk and Jey Uso versus The Vision in a tag team match in the main event of tonight's episode of Raw. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on Monday Night Raw, we get to the next segment of the night where we see the AAA Mega Champion and Intercontinental Champion Dirty Dominic Mysterio. He makes his way out there to the ring, and Dominic, he starts talking about how he is the greatest of all that time, how he is the greatest luchador of all time. So yeah, that's what Dominic Mysterio was saying inside the ring, but then he gets interrupted by Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio returns tonight, and apparently now he is medically cleared. So yeah, Rey Mysterio, he makes his way out there to the ring, and then he starts saying that, Dominic claims that he's the greatest luchador of all time and all that stuff, and then Rey Mysterio starts naming off names that, about who's greater than Dominic Mysterio, other names, and then names Eddie Guerrero and so many others. And then Dominic was talking about, hey, don't be speaking about my father like that. So yeah, that's what he was saying there, which was pretty funny. And then Dominic was talking about how he's greater than all those luchadors, how he's greater than Eddie Guerrero. And then he says that, Rey Mysterio didn't even mention his name because he knows that Dominic is greater than him. So yeah, that's what Dominic was telling Rey Mysterio, and he was talking about how he's the greatest luchador of all time. So yeah, that's what Dominic was saying there. And then Rey Mysterio was talking about how Dominic is not the greatest luchador of all time, and he says that there is 3 things in as well. He says as long as he's around, this ain't gonna be Dominic's ring, and how he's not going to be the greatest luchador of all time, and he says that he's not going to be the greatest Mysterio of all time either. So yeah, that's what Rey Mysterio says. Dominic looks at him, and he looks like he's about to walk away, but then he tries to punch Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio starts beating the hell out of Dominic, and then he knocks Dominic onto the second rope. He manages to hit the 619 onto Dominic, and then he climbs up the top turnbuckle, about to hit the frog splash onto Dominic, but then Dominic quickly rolls out the ring, saving himself. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment. The fans was behind this and everything, chanting beat his ass and all that stuff. So yeah, that was pretty funny there. But yeah, Rey Mysterio returned tonight on Monday Night Raw and confronted Dominic Mysterio. Pretty good segment. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it looks like they're definitely going to be having a match possibly at Survivor Series or somewhere down the line, it seems like for sure. But yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment. But then after that, we see Adam Pearce still choosing the names that's going to be in the tournament for John Cena's final match and all that stuff. And then not only that, we see Bayley in her head and everything, and then Lyra Valkyria comes up to talk to Bayley, and apparently Bayley's all in her head because, the Kabuki Warriors did not attack her last week on Raw, and then Lyra Valkyria was talking about if she could trust Bayley because, she's all in her head and everything, and Bayley was like, yeah, sure, and then Lyra Valkyria was talking about don't worry about it with the Kabuki Warriors. So yeah, that's what happened there. But up next, we'll be hearing from Becky Lynch on Monday Night Raw. That'll be up next, the Women's Intercontinental Champions. So yeah, that's the next thing on Monday Night Raw. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on Monday Night Raw, we get to another segment where we see the WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. She appears right on the announce table and she starts cutting a promo talking about how she took a week off or whatever because of the stuff that's been going on Monday Night Raw for the past couple of weeks. She was talking about how the Vision attacked her husband and how her husband's now injured and everything and sitting at home. So yeah, that's what she was talking about there. And she was talking about Maxine Dupree and all that stuff, beating her by countout and, disqualification and all that. So yeah, that's what Becky Lynch was talking about there. And then the fans starts chanting, and then Becky Lynch actually puts out a funny line where she says that, the only thing that New Mexico is known for is a show of how people does meth. So yeah, that's what she was saying there, which was a pretty funny line referencing Breaking Bad there. But yeah, that's what Becky Lynch was saying there. And then Becky Lynch gives back on the subject about Maxine Dupree and everything, talking about how she could go train with whoever, but she says that she is going to still retain the Women's Intercontinental Champion and show how she's the greatest wrestler of all time and all that stuff. Even Sports Illustrated says that and all that stuff. And then she tells Maxine Dupree that she could be welcome to the big time. So yeah, that's what Becky Lynch says there. And then she was walking up the ramp up until Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, comes out there because they got a tag team match up next. And then we see Asuka and Becky Lynch standing face to face with each other, staring each other down. So yeah, and then Becky walks out. But yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment there. But up next, we're going to be seeing the Kabuki Warriors versus Lyra Valkyria and Bayley up next in a tag team match. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on Monday Night Raw, we get to the next match of the night. It was Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors versus Bayley and Lyra Valkyria in a tag team match. We get to this tag team match. This match, it was a pretty good one. It was back and forth between both of these teams. It looked like the Kabuki Warriors were going to pick up the win. It looked like Lyra Valkyria and Bayley was going to pick up the win. At one point, we actually see Kairi Sane get taken out of the ring by Bayley. Bayley was on the ring apron, and then it looks like Lyra was about to hit the Nightwing onto Asuka, but then Asuka got off her shoulders, pushing Lyra into Bayley, knocking Bayley off the ring apron, and then that's when Asuka was trying to grab onto Lyra, but then Lyra fought out of her, and then we see Lyra get up on the second turnbuckle and jump off backwards and got caught into the Asuka lock, and then Lyra Valkyria tapped out. So yeah, the Kabuki Warriors defeated Lyra Valkyria and Bayley tonight in a tag team match. That's what happened there. Pretty good tag team match there. But then after the match ended, we see the Kabuki Warriors look like they was about to attack Lyra Valkyria. And then all of a sudden we see the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, come running down, making the save, chasing the Kabuki Warriors out the ring. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good tag team match. So for that match, I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it a pretty good tag match between both of those teams. But then after that, we see Finn Balor and JD McDonough backstage, and then we see Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez coming backstage, and then they break the news that next week on Raw, it will be Stephanie Vaquer versus Raquel Rodriguez for the WWE Women's World Championship. So yeah, that's what he was announcing there. And the Judgment Day was very happy. But then Dominic Mysterio comes in there. He's all upset. He's complaining about what happened earlier tonight with Rey Mysterio, calling him a deadbeat and everything. And then he was talking about how the Judgment Day should have been out there and helped him and all that stuff. And then Finn pretty much was having enough of it. And he says that, you know what, they didn't even get brought out for his celebration and all that. And maybe if they was out there for the celebration, maybe they would have done something to help Dominic out. But yeah, that's what he was talking about there. And they said that they got to deal with their own match up next, the tag team title match. So yeah, that's what they were saying there, and they walked out. And then Dominic was talking about what's their problem and all that. And then Raquel was pretty much telling him that, you know, it's Dominic's problem and everything for getting them to lose the tag team title. So yeah, that's what she says there. And she walks out, and then Roxanne was talking to Dominic and telling Dominic that he needs to be the bigger person and pretty much help out the Judgment Day. So yeah, that's what she was saying there. But up next, we're going to be seeing the Judgment Day taking on AJ Styles and Dragon Lee in a rematch for the World Tag Team Championships up next on Raw. But yeah, still to come later on tonight in the main event, it will be CM Punk and Jey Uso versus The Vision in a tag team match in the main event of tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. So yeah, that match is still to come later on tonight. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, we get to the next match of the night. It was the WWE World Tag Team Champions, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough of the Judgment Day in a tag team match for the WWE World Tag Team Championships. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was a really good match. It was back and forth and everything between both of these teams. But yeah, at one point in this match, we actually see the Intercontinental Champion, Dirty Dominic Mysterio, popping up at ringside. And at one point, he starts ending up distracting the referee, where JD McDonough grabs a hold of AJ Styles at one point. And then that's when we see Finn Balor out there on the top turnbuckle. He jumps off with the coup de grace. Styles moves out the way, and Balor accidentally hits JD McDonough instead. That's when Styles grabs Finn, throwing him into Dominic on the ring apron, knocking Dominic off the apron, and then we see Styles setting up for the Styles Clash on the JD, but then JD fought out of it, throwing Styles over the top rope, but Styles lands on his feet, and then Styles manages to hit the Phenomenal Forearm onto JD. He pins him, 1, 2, Finn breaks the pin at the count of 2, and then we see Dominic at one point on the other side of the ring, and he's distracting the referee, and then that's when we see Finn Balor grabbing a shillelagh, hitting AJ Styles upside the head with it. JD crawls for the pin, referee turns around, he starts counting it, 1, 2, Dragon Lee breaks at the pin at the count of 2, and then we see Dragon Lee tossing Finn out of the ring and jumping over the top rope with a front flip senton onto Finn, taking him out. Dominic got up on the ring apron once again, distracting the referee to try to help JD and Finn to win the match, but then Sheamus comes up, knocking Dominic down. He starts beating the hell out of Dominic. Dominic's trying to fight back, but then Sheamus, throws him over the barricade and stuff, going at it with him. And then we see JD and Styles going at it inside the ring, but then Styles manages to grab JD, hitting a Styles Clash onto him, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, AJ Styles and Dragon Lee defeated the Judgment Day tonight in a tag team match to retain the WWE World Tag Team Championships. That's what happened there. Pretty good tag team match for that match. I'll give it 3.5 stars. That's why I'll give it a great tag team match though. But yeah, that's what happened there. And then after that, we see Stephanie Vaquer walking backstage, and then Nikki Bella comes up wanting to apologize to Stephanie because now she gets to defend her Women's World Championship up against Raquel Rodriguez next week on Raw. So yeah, that's what Nikki Bella is apologizing for. Stephanie tells her, don't worry about it and all that stuff, and then Nikki Bella was like, that's the problem, I am worrying about it. And she wanted to apologize to her and everything because she says that she thought she could keep up with the ladies after she returned and all that stuff, but then now she's doubting herself, and then Stephanie tells her to calm down, it's not her fault, and it's okay. So yeah, that's what she was saying there. And then Nikki Bella was talking about how she'll be at ringside for Stephanie's match next week on Raw. So yeah, that's what happened there. But then after that, we see Jey Uso getting ready for the tag team match later on tonight. But then Paul Heyman comes up, and Paul Heyman tries to play some mind games, trying to get in Jey Uso's head. And Jey Uso was talking about how he respects CM Punk because he fought him man-to-man with no shenanigans and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what Jey Uso was saying there. And then Paul Heyman was talking about the Vision and all that stuff. and talk about how, the Vision always attacked a lot of other people as well. But then they said that Jey Uso's with differently and all that stuff. And he says that he understands Jey, and he says that he knows that Jey got a vision of himself. So yeah, that's what he was saying there, and he walks out. But yeah, up next will be that tag team match. It'll be CM Punk and Jey Uso versus The Vision up next in a tag team match in the main event of tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing that happened on Monday Night Raw, we get to the main event, was the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk and Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed with Paul Heyman at ringside, The Vision in a tag team match. That's the main event for tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. But before we talk about that match, we got to talk about a backstage segment where we see the Raw General Manager Adam Pearce, and he announces the first few matches for the tournament to face John Cena in his final match, and those matches will be happening next week on Raw. It will be Damian Priest versus Rusev one-on-one, and it will be Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sheamus one-on-one. So yeah, those matches have been announced for next week's episode of Raw in the tournament. So yeah, that's what's happening there. And there's a women's world title match happening next week on Raw and so much other things. So yeah, women's tag team titles as well. But yeah, we get to the tag team match. In this match, it was pretty good for the most part. It was back and forth and everything. We see Jey Uso hitting an Uso splash onto Bronson Reed. The pin got broken up at the count of 2 by Braun Breaker. And then that's when we see all chaos break loose, where everybody was brawling outside the ring. And then both teams got counted out outside the ring. So yeah, that's what happened there. The match in a double count out. But then after the match ended, both teams are still brawling. We see CM Punk and Jey Uso taking control of this brawl. And at one point, they took out Braun Breaker, and then they're beating down Bronson Reed. They got him laid across the announce table, about to put him through it, and then Jey Uso's walking around the ring, but then he gets hit with a spear outside the ring by Braun Breaker. He gets thrown inside the ring. CM Punk starts getting beat down, thrown into the timekeeper's area, and then we see Braun Breaker hitting another spear on Jey Uso inside the ring, and then that's when Bronson Reed climbs up the top turnbuckle, jumping off with a tsunami onto Jey, laying him out, and then we see CM Punk quickly getting into the ring with a steel chair, and then the Vision quickly got out of the ring, but then instead of going away this time, they actually grab 2 steel chairs for themselves, and then they get back into the ring, and then it looks like it's going to be a standoff right there, and then we see Logan Paul running into the ring, and yeah, he puts his brass knuckles on, and it looks like he's ready to fight side by side with CM Punk to take on the Vision, but instead he knocks out CM Punk by punching him in the face with those brass knuckles. And then we see Paul Heyman holding back the Vision and all that stuff. And then Logan Paul walks up to Paul Heyman, and then he takes off the brass knuckles and he hands it over to Paul Heyman. So it looks like Logan Paul's possibly joining the Vision. So yeah, that was the ending of Monday Night Raw. Pretty good ending though, if he is joining the Vision. But it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens next. But yeah, for that tag team match, I'll give it 3 stars. That's what I'll give it. For match of the night, I gotta say it was the World Tag Team title match. I'll say that was match of the night right there. But yeah, for tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, I'll give it 8.5 stars. That's what I'll give it. Pretty good episode. But yeah, that's been my Monday Night Raw reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube. Subscribe to my other channel, Word of Chris, and subscribe to this channel, Chris McDaniels. And follow me on my social media accounts. I'll be down there in the description box, and I'll be talking about NXT tomorrow night. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then.